Have you ever found yourself just, wrestling with the sheer complexity of leading a team or trying to give feedback that's actually honest, really honest, but also, well, helpful?
Well,
Or maybe just figuring out your own career path. It feels like there are just a million conflicting ideas out there, doesn't it?
oh, absolutely. One guru says this, another says the complete opposite.
Right. And they all promise the secret sauce. So how do we, as people trying to navigate this, how do we cut through all that noise? How do we figure out what truly works in the, let's face it, messy human reality of business?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Exactly. So today, we're embarking on a deep dive into precisely that, the irreplaceable human element of business. We'll
Right.
be exploring how individuals and organizations, too, can not just survive, but actually thrive in these really complex, fast-moving environments we're all in.
And we've got quite a stack of sources to draw from.
We really do. We've culled insights from, well, a really rich and diverse set of materials, everything from sort of foundational management theories
The classics.
to modern tech leadership playbooks, and even some fascinating historical accounts and economic perspectives thrown in for good measure.
Yeah. And our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear, I think. We
Yeah.
want to distill practical, genuinely actionable wisdom.
Mm.
We're looking at what makes leadership truly effective.
Right.
We want to unravel the incredibly nuanced art of feedback, both giving and receiving it.
It's just so hard.
It really is. And explore how we can foster authentic personal growth and ultimately understand what it takes to build organizational cultures that are resilient, that can actually stand the test of time.
Okay.
So we'll look at how some renowned figures and companies have grappled with these exact challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we'll probably uncover some surprising facts, maybe even challenge some conventional thinking along the way.
I hope so.
The goal is really to help you become better informed, more impactful, and, equipped with a more nuanced understanding of how people truly operate within this intricate dance of business.
And we are definitely covering a lot of ground today. We'll tackle everything from, setting those crystal clear goals and mastering the, I think, often overlooked art of delegation
Oh, definitely overlooked.
to that really sticky subject of delivering tough feedback. And importantly, we'll get into how bias can just subtly creep in and undermine everything, even with the best intentions.
That's critical.
We'll also delve into the absolutely crucial role of personal ownership, that idea of extreme ownership and cultivating a powerful growth mindset. And then we'll try to connect all these personal and team dynamics back to the bigger picture, broader strategic success and how organizations adapt or fail to adapt in the face of constant change. So as we kick this off, what immediate thoughts or maybe even frustrations come to your mind when you think about these leadership and people challenges?
Well, the first thing that jumps out is often that disconnect between intention and impact, especially in leadership.
The foundations of effective leadership.
Yeah.
Vision, clarity, and empowering others.
Okay, let's start right at the core, the essence of leadership. Because as our sources really powerfully highlight, it goes way beyond just making decisions or, laying out a strategy.
Right, it's not just about the plan.
Exactly. It is fundamentally deeply tied to emotional intelligence. And this isn't just some nice-to-have soft skill. Daniel Goleman's work, What Makes a Leader, makes it absolutely clear.
Yeah, it's foundational.
It directly drives performance. It acts almost like an invisible current that spreads through the entire organization. The leader's mood, their actual emotional state day to day, it's remarkably
I
contagious.
like electricity through wires, you said earlier.
Precisely. So your internal state, how you genuinely show up emotionally, it doesn't just affect you. It has this profound, immediate impact on your team's climate, their morale, and ultimately their collective ability to perform at their best. It really sets the foundational tone.
That's such a powerful point, and maybe one we don't always acknowledge enough. It's not just the words you carefully craft for that big strategy meeting. It's the actual emotional energy you bring, how that just radiates out, often silently, to everyone. Take Satya Nadella at Microsoft. Hit refresh, details this really well.
Yeah, great example.
His approach emphasizes being humble, looking forward, but also being deeply pragmatic. He's known for genuinely working with engineers, not just talking down to them.
Right, a real
And
partnership.
his focus wasn't just breaking from Microsoft's past, but forging this bold new mission, making huge bets on things like AI and cloud computing.
Transformative bets.
Totally. And what's really fascinating is how he embodies this idea of a continuous conversation, always reaching out to customers, researchers, even competitors, always learning.
that continuous learning piece.
Yeah. It shows how a leader's personal qualities, that curiosity, that collaborative spirit, that emotional presence, can fundamentally reshape a whole company's direction, inspire thousands of people, and drive a culture of constant innovation. It's really about character, not just competence.
And if we zoom out a bit, this kind of pervasive personal influence really underscores what Peter Drucker observed way back in Managing Oneself.
Ah, Drucker, always relevant.
Always. He pointed out that history's really great achievers, people from totally different fields, like Napoleon, the military strategist, or Da Vinci, the ultimate Renaissance man,
Right.
at their core, they were masters of self-management.
Yeah.
They knew their strengths, they worked tirelessly to develop them, and they put themselves where they could make the biggest difference.
So knowing yourself first.
Exactly. And Drucker argues that connects directly to us today. Most of us, even if we don't have, Da Vinci-level talents,
Sadly not.
we must rigorously learn to manage ourselves. It's not a luxury anymore. It's an absolute imperative.
Yeah.
It means constantly developing our skills, strategically positioning ourselves, and critically staying mentally alert and engaged for potentially a 50-year working life.
Wow, 50 years.
Right. Which also means knowing when and how to pivot, when to change direction, maybe even reinvent ourselves. And a leader who models this self-management, who sets that example, that creates ripples. It inspires a culture of self-awareness and adaptability throughout the whole organization.
That leads us nicely into the next cornerstone, doesn't it? Clarity.
Absolutely.
In today's world, just cutting through the fog, setting a clear direction, it feels more important than ever. The blue ocean leadership approach offers a really interesting lens here.
It does. It highlights something crucial,
Which is?
that managers rarely intend to be poor leaders. It's usually not malice. More often, the problem is just a lack of clear understanding about what specific changes would actually unlock the best in people and have the biggest impact.
So it's not about blame, it's about focus.
Exactly. Finding a focused, actionable path. This methodology isn't just aspirational fluff. It's about systematically releasing that untapped talent and energy.
How does it do that?
Well, first, by mapping the current as-is leadership situation, really understanding where time and energy are being spent, or maybe wasted.
Okay, getting a baseline.
Right. Then it helps define clear to-be leadership profiles, articulating the specific behaviors and actions needed for future success. This whole diagnostic process is vital because it doesn't just say what needs to change, it builds the why. It creates context and buy-in.
And it uses that 4 actions framework, right? Eliminate, reduce, raise, create.
Precisely. That forces a really surgical approach. So a leader might decide to eliminate some pointless report, reduce endless low-impact meetings.
We could all use that.
Tell me about it. Then maybe raise the level of cross-functional work on key projects and create dedicated time for innovation, like innovation sprints. It moves leadership change from vague ideas to concrete, measurable actions.
Very practical.
And building right on that, the methodology from the discipline of teams really hammers home the role of SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
Ah, yes, SMART goals. We hear about them a lot.
We do, but they also mention outcome-based goals. These aren't just buzzwords, though. When used properly, they're essential tools that can genuinely transform team effectiveness.
What's the catch, though? Sometimes they feel a bit rigid.
That's the hidden insight, exactly. They can easily become these rigid compliance tools instead of agile guiding stars. Truly effective teams don't just set SMART goals. They have a culture where they can re-smart them on the fly based on new data. Adaptability is key.
Okay, so they're dynamic, not set in stone.
Ideally, yes. These frameworks help determine exactly what work needs doing, who does it, and towards what specific end. That clarity empowers teams to decide if they need a single leader for a task or a more collaborative approach.
Makes sense.
Plus, clear goals let them accurately assess if achieving those smaller goals will actually deliver the overall success they're aiming for. It ensures all the pieces add up to the big picture, avoiding that trap where everyone's busy but not actually aligned.
And there's a fantastic historical example of this kind of clarity in action, isn't there? Alfred P. Sloan Jr. at GM.
Oh, Sloan's meeting discipline. Legendary stuff, detailed in The Effective Executive.
Tell us about it. It sounds almost minimalist.
It was. He'd start by clearly announcing the meeting's single purpose. No ambiguity, no rambling agendas.
Nice.
Then he would just listen intently, rarely spoke, except maybe for a quick, sharp question to clarify something.
Just listening. Powerful.
Then at the end, he'd sum up, state the conclusions, and adjourn. But here's the real stroke of genius.
The memo.
The memo.
Ah.
Immediately afterward, he'd read a short, precise memo, not to everyone, but to one specific attendee.
Just one. Why?
Accountability, presumably.
Hmm.
That memo summarized the discussion, the final conclusions, and any work assignments, crucially, with deadlines and clear accountability spelled out for each task.
Wow.
It wasn't just a meeting. It was a highly disciplined machine for turning talk into clear, actionable next steps. It made sure the clarity achieved in the room actually drove execution. A masterclass in making conversations count.
That perfectly tees up the next bit, delegation.
Right? Building on execution. Delegation.
Yeah.
It's so much more than just, offloading tasks you don't want to do.
Although that can be nice sometimes.
True. But it's a truly critical leadership skill for scaling yourself, and by extension, scaling your whole organization. Blitz scaling. That playbook for hypergrowth.
Yeah.
It highlights 3 main ways to scale yourself. Delegation, amplification, like using tech or processes, and just personal improvement.
Okay.
But so many founders and leaders really struggle with delegation.
Yeah.
They just can't let go. There's often this deep-seated belief, nobody else can do this as well as I can.
The indispensability trap.
Exactly. They fear a drop in quality or losing control.
Yeah.
But the truth, as blitzscaling points out so well, is probably more like, no, maybe not at first, but they'll likely figure it out over time, just like you did.
That's a perspective shift.
It really is. It changes delegation from a burden to a massive opportunity for accelerating growth, especially in blitzscaling, that breakneck speed, velocity over efficiency world.
Right.
The biggest bottleneck often becomes the leader themselves. So delegation isn't just sharing tasks, it's rapidly distributing decision-making, empowering others, even if it means accepting some early mistakes. Because the cost of being slow in that environment is way higher than the cost of initial imperfection.
And here's where it gets really interesting, linking back to development. Effective delegation is actually a powerful tool for developing skills on your team, right?
Absolutely. Often underutilized in that way.
Yeah.
The Harvard Business Review's 20-Minute Manager series makes this point clearly.
How so?
Strategically delegating work can both assess and develop employee skills at the same time. It's about identifying the skills needed for a task.
Okay.
Maybe borrowing complementary skills from others to ensure success, and most importantly, coaching people through the delegated task to help them build new capabilities.
So it's an investment.
Precisely.
Yeah.
An investment in your team's long-term growth and capacity, not just a task transfer to get something off your plate today. It builds future leaders. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, maybe look at history. Think about Robert Moses, vividly portrayed in The Power Broker.
The master builder of New York.
That's him. He showed how immense authority and decisive delegation could coordinate these massive, incredibly complex public works projects.
Right. Bridges, highways.
Everything. He'd rapidly get legislative permissions, dictate exact methods for complex legal and engineering stuff, moving mountains through sheer force of will and a very clear chain of command.
Impressive in a way.
Undeniably effective for getting things done quickly. But his methods were forceful, certainly not always empowering in the modern sense. It highlights how decisive leadership and detailed delegation, especially under pressure, can achieve monumental results.
But there's a but, isn't there?
There is. It raises that crucial question for leaders today. Does that kind of rigid command and control approach, while effective for specific outcomes, truly foster the long-term empowerment, psychological safety, and motivation we value now?
The trade-off.
Exactly. The challenge is finding that balance, decisive action that drives results, but also genuine empowerment that cultivates growth and ownership.
Yeah.
It's a constant tightrope walk.
The nuances of feedback. Challenge, care, and psychological safety.
Okay, so we've talked about vision, clarity, delegation, sort of the structural pieces. But the human element really comes alive in those, well, let's be honest, often uncomfortable moments of direct communication.
Feedback.
Exactly. And few things are as challenging, yet as absolutely vital as the art of giving feedback. The new 1-Minute Manager offers a surprisingly simple, yet I think quite profound, framework.
It does. The goals, praisings, and redirects.
Those 1-minute praisings are particularly insightful, aren't they? They're not just generic attaboy.
No, they emphasize specifying exactly what was done right. That demonstrates real sincerity, consistency.
And crucially, the manager is coached to respond to where the employee is emotionally, right? Not just their own mood.
Yes, focusing on the employee's needs and feelings. That specificity and empathy are core to making feedback feel genuine and actually land effectively. It provides clear, actionable language, which is a real strength, moving beyond vague feelings to concrete points.
So it simplifies things.
I think that's a key takeaway. It makes a traditionally complicated, often avoided job more manageable and impactful by focusing on being brief, timely, and highly specific.
And it's an investment?
Definitely an investment in the individual. It's designed to help people learn to spot and solve problems better themselves, fostering more responsiveness and enabling them to act more autonomously.
So it builds self-sufficiency.
Right. It moves beyond just correcting mistakes to actively building someone's problem-solving skills and sense of agency, more ownership.
So thinking about this for you listening, how often do you make your feedback truly anticipated, personal, and relevant?
That triad from permission marketing?
Exactly. That idea of getting permission from customers to talk to them, it applies so well internally. When feedback is anticipated, people actually expect it, maybe even look forward to it, knowing it comes from a place of support. When it's personal, it's directly about them and their specific work. And when it's relevant, it addresses something they're genuinely interested in improving or working on.
Makes sense.
Feedback like that, positive or constructive, just has infinitely more impact than some random generic comment dropped without context. It turns feedback from a chore into a real conversation.
But, and this is a big but, delivering direct feedback isn't always simple or applied fairly. This is where we need to dig into some critiques, especially of frameworks that push for direct challenge.
Like radical candor, it's hugely popular.
Hugely. Kim Scott's model, care personally on one axis, challenge directly on the other. The idea is great. Effective leaders give clear, candid feedback because they genuinely care about the person's growth.
The sweet spot being radical candor itself.
Right. But as the radical candor excerpts themselves acknowledge, there are pitfalls. Specifically, gender bias makes radical candor harder for women. They highlight the abrasive trap.
Ah, the abrasive trap. Tell us about that anecdote.
It describes a boss telling a highly competent woman, basically, the better you are, the less people like you.
Ouch.
And instead of addressing the colleague's bias, the systemic issue, the woman was told to work on her likability.
So the burden shifted entirely onto her.
Completely. And that exemplifies a huge problem that can undermine the whole point of constructive feedback.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for our deep dive, especially thinking critically about these models. This scenario highlights a central challenge with frameworks like radical candor. The massive burden of interpretation it can place on the person receiving the feedback.
The interpretation burden. Explain that.
Well, in situations like the abrasive trap, it puts an unfair load on employees, especially women, to figure out their boss's true intentions. Are they genuinely trying to help me grow based on objective performance, or am I being asked to change my behavior because of ingrained, maybe unconscious biases in the culture?
Right. It's about competence or conformity.
Exactly. The manager implicitly shifted responsibility from fixing a biased environment to making the individual softer or more likable. That pulls the conversation away from objective feedback and into navigating these murky, subjective, gendered expectations.
Which is exhausting and unfair.
Totally. And this is where that challenge directly part of the mantra can, in such an environment, easily slide into what the 5 dysfunctions of a team might call obnoxious aggression.
If that foundation of psychological safety isn't rock solid.
Precisely. The context, the culture, the leader's own self-awareness, and they matter hugely in how direct feedback lands. It's not just about the words.
And that connects directly back to Goleman's work on emotional intelligence, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, he stresses empathy, not just sympathy, but actively using that understanding to improve things. And social skill, friendliness with a purpose, moving people positively.
Okay.
When bias creates that disconnect between competence and likability, like in the abrasive trap, it just torpedoes both empathy and social skill. Effective, unbiased feedback becomes almost impossible because the trust and mutual respect are broken.
And it highlights how hard it might be to actually train managers to care personally, effectively.
It really does, because caring personally isn't just a checklist of behaviors. It requires a deep commitment to uncovering and overcoming your own biases, developing genuine emotional intelligence. That's a much heavier lift, a more complex developmental journey than just learning a 2x2 matrix.
Yeah, much deeper. This whole discussion about feedback, the potential pitfalls, it inevitably leads us straight to psychological safety.
The bedrock.
Right. The 5 dysfunctions of a team. hints at the lack of it when it describes those team fireworks,
Yeah, the big arguments.
where one person might sound harsh, maybe thinking she knew what she was doing, but it just leads to someone else getting furious or storming out.
Right. Direct challenge becomes obnoxious aggression.
Exactly. That kind of environment, where challenging directly turns toxic instead of productive, is a clear sign that there's no safe space for open, honest, respectful disagreement.
And without that safety, feedback, no matter how well-intentioned by the giver,
Can feel like a personal attack, like shaming, like a threat. Not an opportunity to learn. It just shuts people down.
And the impact on performance is direct, isn't it? Leadership that gets results makes this connection.
Tell me more.
It suggests that when an employee truly feels their boss watches their work, genuinely cares about their development, and supports them, they feel free to experiment.
Freedom to experiment. That's huge.
It is. They're assured they'll get quick, constructive feedback, not punishment if they try something new and it doesn't quite work out. That freedom, that lack of fear, is a hallmark of psychological safety.
And it fuels innovation.
Absolutely. It allows for flexibility, innovation, taking calculated risks, and fosters a deeper sense of responsibility. The opposite, no safety, means people play it safe, stick to the rules, avoid risks. It actively prevents progress.
So the big question becomes, how do leaders actively, deliberately create that environment where vulnerability, which you need for trust, is actually encouraged, seen as a strength, not a weakness?
That's the challenge. The workbook for Dare to Lead talks about shame.
Brene Brown's work.
Right. Shame, often driven by that deep fear of disconnection, makes people feel unworthy. It crushes courage, the courage to be vulnerable, to innovate, to admit mistakes.
And it's often the elephant in the room, right? Rarely talked about.
Exactly, which makes vulnerability incredibly hard. Leaders have to get it deep down that no one is above mistakes. And shame shouldn't be the response, or worse, a tool for control. It needs to be replaced with understanding, seeing errors as chances to learn and grow together.
And this is really tough for managers tasked with caring personally if they haven't done their own work on this or if the culture doesn't support it.
Precisely. They might lack the self-awareness or the tools to even recognize, let alone mitigate, the destructive power of shame in their interactions.
And we see the consequences vividly in extreme ownership, don't we? When safety is absent or responsibility is avoided.
Oh yeah, that defensive CTO example is classic.
Remind us.
He was just full of excuses for a failed product launch. Blamed the market, blamed inexperienced staff, blamed bad communication, blamed senior execs, blamed everyone but himself.
A total lack of ownership.
And a clear sign of a culture where admitting failure isn't safe, or where individuals haven't internalized that sense of ownership. It creates a blame game.
And the solution offered.
The contrast with the new boat crew leader, he inherited a crew performing terribly, but his first step, face the facts.
No excuses.
None. Didn't blame anyone, didn't make excuses. He just took complete ownership and focused relentlessly on getting better. That shift from blame to ownership is foundational for a psychologically safe, high-performing culture. It shows that caring personally has to include holding people accountable, but in a way that fosters learning and growth, not fear or shame.
Cultivating individual and organizational growth.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly now towards individual growth and the mindset that really underpins it all. Carol Dweck's work in mindset is just so powerful here.
Absolutely transformative.
She makes this compelling case that our basic qualities, intelligence, talent, they aren't fixed. They can be developed through dedication, hard work, good strategies.
Right, the core idea of the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset.
And the difference is huge, isn't it? If you have a fixed mindset, failure feels devastating. It defines you permanently almost. It robs you of the resources to cope and try again.
Yeah, it becomes personal, a judgment on your inherent ability.
But with a growth mindset, failures still sting. Obviously, nobody likes failing.
Of course not.
But they don't define you. Because you fundamentally believe that change and growth are always possible. That effort leads to improvement. That fosters incredible resilience and this continuous drive to learn. Obstacles become opportunities.
And it's fascinating how this plays out at the very top levels of leadership. Bill McNabb, former Vanguard CEO, he observed something interesting.
What was that?
That senior leaders who ultimately didn't succeed often held this core belief. I can't learn anymore. I am what I am.
Wow, the fixed mindset personified at the top.
Exactly. It's the absolute opposite of that gritty perspective. Angela Duckworth talks about recognizing that people get better at things, they grow.
Right. Grit and growth mindset are linked.
Deeply. It's about giving others and yourself the benefit of the doubt. believing there's always tomorrow to learn and improve. That belief in potential, not fixed limits, is critical for sustained performance and innovation, whether you're just starting out or you're the CEO. It determines if you stay agile or become stagnant.
So this raises a really practical question for all of us. How do we actually foster this resilience? Not just talk about it, but build it day to day.
How will you measure your life offers a slightly counterintuitive take.
Clayton Christensen's work, yeah.
Right. It suggests that for children to build resilience, they actually need to face difficult challenges and sometimes, importantly, experience failure without immediately being rescued.
Letting them struggle a bit.
Within reason, yeah. And applying that insight to adulthood. It means consciously seeking out experiences that stretch us, that develop the capabilities we want, rather than instinctively dodging obstacles or risks.
So leaning into discomfort.
Pretty much. Embracing the struggle, knowing that every setback, every challenge overcome is a building block for future strength, adaptability, wisdom. It means being willing to be uncomfortable for the sake of growth.
And historically, we see this kind of mindset, don't we? Like with Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, Franklin's autobiography is a brilliant early example, long before we had these psychological terms.
His experiments with electricity.
Exactly. His eager pursuit of them, practicing relentlessly until he got really good, drawing crowds to his house to see the wonders. It shows this lifetime commitment to learning, experimenting, sharing knowledge.
He wasn't afraid to fail or look silly.
Not at all. He just kept tinkering, refining. That's a growth mindset in action, this relentless, almost joyful pursuit of knowledge and improvement, which, by the way, yielded revolutionary results.
Building right on that resilience idea is extreme ownership.
Yeah, Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, such a powerful concept.
The core principle being that leaders must take full responsibility for everything in their world. No excuses.
It's stark, isn't it? A real contrast to that default human tendency to deflect blame, to find external reasons for why things went wrong.
Like that CTO example again.
Right, blaming the market, the team, the bosses, anyone but himself. It just perfectly illustrates that automatic impulse to look outward instead of inward and just own it.
And the contrast they provide is?
That new boat crew leader again, inherited a terrible crew, set up to fail, but what did he do?
Face the facts.
Face the facts, didn't blame anyone. Didn't make excuses, just took complete, unreserved ownership and focused like a laser on getting better, instilling that same ownership in his team.
And they argue that that acceptance of responsibility is the key trait.
They argue it's the crucial leadership trait for driving real improvement and fostering an environment where growth and high performance can actually take root. It shifts the whole dynamic from feeling like a victim to feeling empowered.
So translating that for us, for you listening, especially when you're leading a team but also have your own boss, what does it mean?
It means one of your most important and sometimes hardest jobs is to support your own boss, to present a united front.
Even if you disagree.
Even if you disagree internally. Once a decision is made by leadership, the principle is you execute it as if it were your own. Publicly undermining the chain of command, even with good intentions, is disastrous for cohesion and performance.
So loyalty upwards, unity downwards.
Exactly. It promotes cohesion, effective action, and reinforces that idea that ownership starts at the top and cascades down, builds trust and alignment.
Which brings us back to Drucker and managing oneself. A classic for a reason, you said.
And maybe more relevant now than ever. His argument is that in today's world, linear careers are fading. Most of us have to learn to manage ourselves.
And it's more than just time management.
Oh, much more. It's continually developing our skills, strategically placing ourselves where we can make the biggest contribution, and maybe toughest of all, staying mentally sharp and engaged over a working life that could easily be 50 years or more.
That requires knowing when to change, too.
Critically, knowing how and when to pivot to change the work we do. Career reinvention isn't the exception anymore. It's becoming the norm. It demands deep self-awareness and proactive, lifelong learning.
So how do we do that practically? How do we continuously self-assess?
Well, the effective executive offers a surprisingly simple yet powerful tool. Keep a time log.
Just track your time.
Yeah. Actually see where your time really goes versus where you think it goes or where it should go based on your priorities.
And what do people usually find?
Even really effective people often find they've drifted. They're wasting significant time on trivia, low-impact stuff, reacting instead of being proactive.
The tyranny of the urgent.
Precisely. So it requires constant, deliberate effort to manage time and prevent that drift. It's not a one-off exercise. It's self-management in continuous action. A daily recalibration to ensure your most precious resource, your time and energy, is focused on what truly matters. A constant battle against distraction.
Strategic acumen and organizational adaptation in a dynamic world.
Okay, we've covered a lot on the individual and team level, but we can't ignore the bigger picture strategy. That's the compass for the whole organization's journey, right?
Absolutely fundamental. Playing to win gives a great example with P&G and Tide.
How they broaden their strategy.
Exactly. They shifted their where-to-play choice from just tackling visible dirt to addressing a whole range of cleaning needs, even inventing things like stain-release products tied to Go.
Ah.
It shows how a clear yet adaptable strategy can evolve to capture new markets, keep the brand relevant, and stay ahead.
And then there's the flip side. The cautionary tale. The Edsel.
Oh, the Edsel, a classic case study in failure detailed beautifully in Business Adventures.
What went wrong there, strategically?
Just about everything. Desperate, contradictory advertising, a product that didn't quite fit any market need, and eventually this ignominious discontinuation. It's a vivid illustration of the massive cost of a flawed or just terribly mismanaged strategy. Lack of clarity, lack of market understanding, disaster.
So it highlights the difference between good and bad strategy.
Critically, Richard Rumelt's Good Strategy, Bad Strategy really digs into this distinction. He uses the example of 3DFX, the old graphics card company.
Yeah, I remember them. What happened?
They followed what Rumelt calls spurious advice, probably from Wall Street or flawed marketing ideas. They spread their resources too thin, overreached trying to compete everywhere, and ultimately failed.
And the contrast.
NVIDIA, their rival. NVIDIA adopted this carefully crafted fast release cycle. It wasn't just about being fast. It was strategically designed to disrupt their rivals' plans, keep them off balance.
So strategy isn't just internal planning.
Not at all. It's about anticipating competitors, reacting smartly, and crucially, leveraging your unique strengths to create an advantage they can't easily copy, outmaneuvering them.
Which brings up a really important question for any leader. What is truly distinctive about your organization? What's defensible?
Playing to win actually encourages leaders to do something interesting. Reverse engineer your competitors' activity systems.
Like map out how they operate.
Exactly. How they create value, deliver products, manage operations, then overlay that with your own system. The goal isn't to copy them, but to deeply analyze and identify how to make your way of doing things truly distinctive and value-creating in a way that's hard for them to replicate.
And being brutally honest about capabilities.
Brutally honest. What can we really do now? And what capabilities do we realistically need to build for future success? It requires deep self-awareness about your place in the competitive landscape.
And that landscape is always changing, isn't it? Which brings us to innovation and disruption.
Absolutely paramount for survival. Clayton Christensen's The Innovator's Dilemma introduced that key concept, performance oversupply.
Explain that again.
It's when existing products get so good, maybe so feature-packed, that they actually exceed what most customers need or are willing to pay for.
Okay, like overkill.
Kind of. And that triggers a fundamental shift. The basis of competition changes. Customers start choosing based on different criteria, maybe convenience, reliability, price, ease of use, rather than just raw performance.
Signaling a big shift in the product lifecycle.
Exactly. Think about Seagate. They were brilliant at making bigger 5.25-inch hard drives for their existing computer company customers. They read that market perfectly.
But they missed.
They missed the disruptive potential of smaller, initially inferior 3.5-inch drives. Those drives weren't powerful enough for desktops at first, but they unlocked entirely new markets, like portable computers.
And Seagate's existing customers didn't want them yet.
Right. So Seagate didn't prioritize them, and they ended up ceding that massive new market to disruptive newcomers.
So how do you spot performance oversupply before it hits you?
You need to look beyond traditional market research. Are customers starting to talk more about convenience or price than features? Are new, maybe clunkier, cheaper competitors gaining traction by solving a slightly different problem? Those are early warnings.
Interesting. And technology shifts often need funding, right?
Okay.
It's not just about the tech itself.
That's a crucial point from finance and technical change. These big technological revolutions rarely get off the ground solely from established players.
Why not?
Inertia, vested interests. Often they're backed by bold financiers, venture capitalists, maybe who are willing to fund new, small, nimble firms that are taking on the establishment.
So innovation is also a financial and organizational challenge.
Definitely. New firms, even with amazing tech, are often too small, too weak, or too inexperienced to fight the established giants alone. They need that external backing to overcome the resistance, the existing infrastructure, the customer lock-in. It's often a battle of agility versus inertia, funded by those betting on the future.
And this connects to the danger of focusing only on short-term metrics, doesn't it?
Perfectly. 0 to 1 warns powerfully against measurement mania.
Obsessing over daily or weekly numbers.
Yeah, weekly active users, quarterly earnings, stuff that's easy to measure but might not reflect long-term health. Obsessing over those can make leaders miss the deeper, harder to measure problems that threaten the durability of your business.
The existential threats.
Exactly. True sustainable value, like maybe LinkedIn built, often lies not just in today's numbers, but in projected future cash flows, in the unique, defensible position you build over time. It requires strategic patience, long-term vision, resisting the siren call of easily manipulated short-term metrics.
Which brings us finally to the underlying fabric, culture and ethics.
The foundation upon which everything else rests or crumbles. Liar's Poker gives such a raw look at a specific Wall Street culture.
What was that culture like?
One where, quote, the unbridled pursuit of perceived self-interest was healthy, an eat or be eaten mentality, individual gain above all else.
Sounds intense.
It was. The range of acceptable conduct was wide indeed, pushing ethical boundaries. And ultimately, that kind of culture was self-destructive. It led to infighting, backstabbing, a lack of clear ethical management, a stark warning about cultures built purely on greed.
And it raises that critical question. What happens when leaders themselves prioritize personal gain over the organization's health?
The smartest guys in the room, the Enron story, is the ultimate cautionary tale there.
How did leadership fail at Enron?
You had executives like Ken Lay, who became a pushover on pay and bonuses, seemed more invested in his outside endeavors than the company itself. This vacuum allowed for shambolic accounting, basically stealing from the future by booking phantom profits.
And Jeff Skilling.
His staggering recklessness, declaring the broadband venture a success when his own team knew it was failing. It created this intense pressure cooker. People felt forced into unethical behavior, deception. It led straight to catastrophe. A terrifying lesson in how leadership choices, or the lack of them, creates systemic cultural failure.
And that reminds us of the human piranha from Liar's Poker.
Oh yeah, that trader who terrified everyone, humiliating people publicly for wrong prices, may be effective for his P&L in that cutthroat environment.
But absolutely toxic for trust or collaboration.
Exactly, a culture killer.
So bringing this all together, what does it mean for you listening in your role in your organization?
Start with why. Really emphasizes this. For trust not to break down, for a company to keep its integrity, it has to constantly actively remind everyone why it exists.
The core purpose.
Yes. And those values aren't just posters on the wall. They have to be living principles. The company has to hold everyone accountable to them from the top down by integrating them into everything. Performance reviews, bonuses, incentives. You have to genuinely serve those whom you wish to serve it. Actions, rewards, daily behaviors all need to align with the stated principles. That's how you build a cohesive, ethical, trustworthy culture where the why actually drives the what and the how.
Wow. We have covered a lot of ground today. We've really taken quite a journey through this intricate world of leadership, feedback, organizational growth, drawing from such a diverse and I think really powerful set of sources.
It's been quite a tour.
We've seen how clear vision, when it's deeply infused with emotional intelligence, really does form the bedrock for effective leadership, how it radiates outwards. We've explored how nuanced, unbiased feedback, acknowledging its challenges, like that abrasive trap that can so easily derail things.
Yeah, the pitfalls are real.
Is still absolutely crucial for development. And we've highlighted how that powerful growth mindset, especially when paired with the principle of extreme ownership, can propel individuals and whole teams forward, building resilience.
Absolutely. It's about facing challenges head on.
So ultimately, what we've really uncovered today, I think, is that navigating this complex human element in business, it demands continuous self-awareness. It demands strategic clarity, not just in planning, but in action.
And commitment.
And a deep, unshakable commitment to fostering environments where growth, psychological safety, and integrity can actually flourish, not just survive.
That's the key, isn't it? Whether you're a leader, a team member trying to make an impact, or even just an observer watching how businesses operate, these principles taken together offer a really practical compass for navigating towards success and genuine impact in this constantly shifting landscape.
So as you head back into your week, here's a final provocative thought to chew on. In this world that just bombards us with information, endless metrics, those tempting quick-fix management fads, what specific, measurable action will you take this week?
Make it concrete.
Yeah. Will it be to give more effective, maybe more empathetic feedback, really remembering those lessons about specificity, context, and potential bias?
Or maybe
Or perhaps it's about cultivating a stronger sense of ownership and resilience, either in yourself or your team. Maybe by deliberately tackling a challenge head-on and owning the outcome, win or lose, learning from it.
recognizing that real progress isn't always in the big, flashy initiatives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
True. Lasting progress often lies not in those grand pronouncements or complicated new systems, but in the consistent, mindful, day-to-day application of these fundamental human principles. So, what will be your next deliberate step?